This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
And don't forget to subscribe to Chirpin' the Cats podcast. He gets it done there too, covering the Cats. Our lockdown segment, ALennyLocksmith.com. Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, all the way up to St. Lucie, Port St. Lucie. So if you're in Miami, all the way up to Port St. Lucie, make sure you call them at 855-869-5625 if you get locked out of your home or locked out of your car. How you doing, my friend? You doing good?
I'll get over here. How you been, man?
Good, bro. You recovered from the vacation? Because usually you need a vacation from the vacation, right?
Yeah, I have not recovered. It's been a long, with a couple of up north and everything, and dealing with some fake stuff.
We're getting some funky sounds from you. It's getting garbled a little bit. Say a couple things. Yeah. Go ahead. Give me a couple of words there.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Let's reconnect, disconnect, and reconnect. Let's see if we can get another connection there. A second. Let's
stand by.
You got it. Let's do that. All right. Let's reconnect because it was kind of awkward there. Biden has COVID. Breaking news. Oh, he's vaccine and boosted, right? Should be all right. Hopefully. He is 167 years old. Yes, there he is. Let's see.
Any better?
It sounds better so far. Let's see.
Okay. Yeah, I checked cables. Everything's got. I got a professional microphone put in and everything. So maybe is it bad still or?
Yeah. It's like really, really weird. I don't know if.
Hold on. Let me try. Hold on. Let me try this.
I'm just wondering if it's us.
Right, is that any better?
Okay, let me see. All right.
Hello. I switched it to my air microphone. Is that helping at all?
I don't know. Let's see. Let's continue and we'll find out. All right. So let's get into a little Cats. Obviously, it's what we do here on this segment. David, walk us through because this feels like a Marlins off season. You know what I mean? It's like I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, but when are the Marlins ever defending league champion, regular season league champion? You know what I'm saying?
I'm not talking about the play on the ice or the play on the diamond. I'm not comparing any of that stuff. I'm not even comparing the talents. I'm not comparing the ownership. I'm just comparing the unsexiness of the offseason, okay? Well, because when you sign Avisail Garcia, I'm like, yeah, and you know what I'm saying?
No, for sure.
And that's my point, my brother. That's all. There is zero comparisons, Panthers to Marlins. The Panthers are by miles a superior organization, top to bottom. It's not even close. But my point is, their offseason resembles very Marlins-like because it's just so unsexy. There's just nothing to get excited about. And we're waiting for a Riley Smith and we're waiting for a Duclair and that's kind of what we're waiting for. We're waiting for one of these unknowns to become a known. In other words, you know what I mean? And listen, to the Panthers' credit, just like the Miami Heat, you don't laugh at Summer League anymore because you say, well, wait a minute, dude. Those guys seem to find somebody in every summer league or two, right? So we no longer poo-poo summer league now. Like, oh, yeah, wow, that's just scrubs. Yeah, those are guys for the G League. We'll never see the light of day. No, you've seen
not anymore.
Right, exactly. So, and it's the same thing with the Panthers. Whether it's Hayes, you name it. We could just go over the names over the last few years, and it doesn't only have to be under Zito. Prior leadership, too, would find a diamond in the rough, like I just said, Riley or Hayes. Those are guys that came in out of, very under the radar and blew up, and he was able to do that with Duclair. So who's the guy out of this group that you say might be Duclair part 2?
I mean, if you have to point to somebody of the recent signings, perhaps it's going to be Colin White, just because he's still young. He's still in his mid-20s. He's still, he's a former first-round pick, so there's plenty of talent there. And again, I mean, to your point, it's an underwhelming offseason, but we knew that going in that they were going to have very little room to work with. And I mean, that's just the reality of having a loaded lineup like they have. I mean, beyond, the contracts of Barkov that's going to kick in this year, Sergei Bobrovsky, you re-signed Reinhart, Duclair, you mentioned Carter Verhage, Bennett, Forsling. These are all guys that have gotten contracts in the last year that they signed cheap or that they drafted, for nothing cheap. And they've developed into NHL guys. You look at Colin White, you look at Nick Cousins, you look at Rudolph Balkers. They've made some complementary moves, depth signings. And I'm not arguing, like, it's not sexy at all. But, that's basically what they were going to do this offseason. Now, there's been a little bit of chatter over the last 24 hours that the Panthers may be in on Matthew Tkachuk and the whole Calgary situation. That's maybe some fans are excited about that. That seems a little far-fetched to me just because, this is a guy in Tkachuk that's going to demand similar money to Barkov and Huberdeau, and rightly so. I mean, the guy, I think he's 24 years old and he had over 100 points last year. So we may just be scratching the surface on what he can bring to the table. But, money don't lie. And there's only enough of it to go around. So for a move like that, you're going to have to move somebody out. And there's, is Jonathan Huberdeau, who's about to get paid that kind of money. Is he a guy you would consider moving out? I wouldn't. But again, that's basically where we're at this offseason. A lot of not underwhelming, because again, I like the White signing. I like the Cousins signing. Balkers could be an interesting move if you pair him up with some talented players. And on the back end, the veteran addition of Mark Stahl, I really like that as well, just because he's been around so long. He's been on playoff runs, and he's in his hockey family and growing up in that environment. He's got 3 brothers in addition to him that have played in the NHL. 2 of them, in addition to him, have played over 1,000 games. So these guys, it's embedded in their DNA, not just how to play the game, but how to win. So again, for what they had to work with, I'm fine with what they did. I'm curious to see how it plays out on the ice. But as you mentioned at the beginning of your question, when it comes to Blvd, track record, you got to trust him to this point, right?
Right. That's the thing. That's where I got to give him the benefit of the doubt because he's done it before. But here's my problem with that. After everything you've lost and what you've gained, even if if White is a under the radar guy, you've lost some big ass players in Sherratt, and you just lost what's the name of the other guy now that you spent another first rounder on him?
Claude Giroux.
Giroux. How do you,
Marchment also? He's gone?
Oh my God, that one really hurt. Okay, so how can you say you're better? You're not.
I'm not saying that they're better. I'm saying that they're still a formidable team.
Yeah, no, I know that, but that's my point. The idea from one year to another is try to get better. You know what I'm saying? Hey, look, whether the Heat like it or not, and they know it deep down inside, they're not going to be better next year. Right now, where it stands, you did not replace PJ Tucker. Whether you like it or not, you're not better next year. So they've got to make the Durant move or something like that, because you cannot look at the team when it comes back next year and say, oh, yeah, no, they're better. And that's the problem with the Panthers. You didn't go very far. You only went to the second round. And now you've taken several steps back talent-wise. How do you overcome that? And that, to me, is the real challenge.
Well, I think the problem that they're trying to solve is they want to become a better playoff team, right? They were amazing in the regular season last year. And even before the trade deadline, they were still one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the league for the majority of the season last year. And that was before they brought in Sherratt. That was before they brought in Giroux. That Mason Marchment was out for a big chunk of last season between injuries and COVID issues. So again, maybe they're not a better regular season team than they were, but I think their goal is to become a better playoff team. And the guys that they brought in, when you look at Cousins, when you look at Stahl, guys that have been on playoff runs, guys that have helped in that regard before. And again, they still could make trade deadline moves the way that they did last year. There's a lot of time between now and then to either free up some cap space, whether they eventually find a trade partner for Patrick Hornquist, you don't know. I think the goal with this team after what they went through last year and the big success and excitement that came with the regular season and being so good and going on that winning streak of whatever it was, 13 games, and all that excitement that came with it. And then you just fizzle out with a 4-game sweep in the playoffs. I think that's where they want to be better, is when the shit hits the fan, when you get to the crunch time of the postseason, where you're not really trying to score 5-6 goals a game.
So
So
wait a minute. So is
go ahead.
David Dwork telling us in the Panther Nation that what this team needed was not more stars, they needed more role players?
I mean, it's hard to say you don't need more stars just because you always want to be as good as you can. But I think they were lacking some of that grits and gravy, some of that grimy, mucky, tough play, not just on the ice. Obviously, things get tough in the playoffs and they've got tough players. But I'm talking about the things you don't hear about. When you get down in a playoff series, when you're beat up in a playoff series, you have to get lifted up internally, whether it's via coaching staff, whether it's veterans. There's a reason that in the NHL, Stanley Cup pedigree is coveted, whether it's free agency, whether it's trade market. These guys are wanted, and there's a reason for it, because something happens when you switch from the regular season to the playoffs and the game changes a little bit. And I think the Panthers got their first real taste of what that experience is last season. And now you're seeing them make moves within their construct, within, what they can do in order to fortify themselves for the playoff run that they want to go on. So no, I don't think they necessarily need more stars. I mean, Barkov, Huberdeau, Duclair, Verhaeghe, Bennett, Reinhart, they are loaded up front. They've got more than almost every team in the league has in terms of goal scoring and creativity, playmaking, all that good stuff. They need the intangibles at this point. And I think that's what they learned last year. And I think that's what you're going to see them try to work through the regular season as. They may not try to win, 50, 60 games in the regular season this year. Because look at Tampa. Have they won a division in their three consecutive Stanley Cup appearances? No. They finished second. They finished third. But as soon as the playoffs start, they flick that switch and they become unbeatable again. And that's, I think, what the Panthers are trying to get to that point.
Well, all right.
Well, easier said than done.
Yeah, exactly. And we're gonna need the stars to play like stars in those moments too. And we're gonna need a goalie to play like Vasilevsky, which Bob wasn't bad. Bob wasn't bad.
Bob was probably their best, most consistent player in the playoffs last year. For all 10 of those games, Bob was as good as you could ask for him.
Except the first round. Verhaeghe dominated the first round.
No, I think even in the first round, I thought Bob was okay. I don't think he was giving up those cheap
Verhaeghe was
goals.
A better player. Verhaeghe was the MVP of the first round.
Verhaeghe really picked it up in like games 4, 5, and 6 of that series.
He was the MVP.
But then,
he was the MVP of that round.
He was the
Verhaeghe
was the MVP of the round
of that team. It wasn't Barkov or Huberdeau. It was Verhaeghe, the star of that series. I mean, he was.
You scored back-to-back overtime goals. You're going to get some credit, right?
He's a stud, dude. That was awesome what he did in that.
Speaking of diamonds in the rough.
Yeah, exactly.
Got him for $1 million a year.
Exactly. So I hope that's what I'm hoping for. That Zito, that's what this offseason's about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's where the Marlins haven't shown us to be able to do what the Heat and the Panthers have done. That they find those diamond in the roughs that then end up becoming, hey, wow, Duncan Robinson. Holy shit! They found one of the best 5 shooters in the league off the
Max Strus.
It's Max Strus now. It's like I love the Caleb Martin kid. Actually, he's actually.
They got guys you want to root for, right?
Yeah. I mean, blue collar, bro. They get guys that have character. You know what I mean? They get guys that could play hockey.
Yeah.
Really. Let's call it like we see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The highest character athletes. Don't get insulted, NBA, NFL, and Major League Baseball. But the highest character athletes that I've been around, they come from the NHL. I'm just saying. You know what I mean?
And Zito has put a emphasis on, when he's interviewing players, the character, the behind the scenes, the kind of people they are, the kind of men they are. Like he's not just bringing in talent. He's bringing in guys that are going to make that room better. And it's a very Pat Riley, Eric Spoelstra kind of vibe to the way that they're building in from the inside out.
Yeah, you have to do that. You have no choice. Once you allow
what the good teams do.
Once you allow cancers in the locker room, it's not especially when your locker room isn't built strong. Once it's strong and established, maybe you can bring in a shady dude that everybody else will try to straighten out, but you can't allow those kind of influences in your locker room at times.
I'm having flashbacks to the 2006 Heat.
Right, exactly. So what's left now? Do you feel like this is the path, or because you talked a little bit earlier about a move for a bigger player, but then obviously it would cost you maybe Huberdeau.
Yeah.
Is there anything else like that around the league going on right now? Is there a disgruntled star that there could be some kind of a trade? Because obviously it has to be trade because they've got to unload salaries in the process in order to accommodate anything at this point because they're so tight.
Yeah, I mean, the first name that pops into my head that like a big star that you think is going to be on the move soon is like Vladimir Tarasenko in St. Louis. I think that's a situation that's been kind of bubbling for a while now. But in terms of the Panthers, like I said, for them to make a big move, they're going to have to move a big piece out.
Right.
Just there's
Right.
no money. I mean,
Okay.
This year they've got over $5 million dead cap just from the Keith Yandel buyout, and they knew that 2 years ago when they did it. But it's it's a big handicap.
They went all in this year. That's why they went all in this year. They
And
rolled the dice.
To be fair, at least for me, I am perfectly fine with that. I wish they would take a swing for the fences every year they have an opportunity, because as Panther fans know, an opportunity to be a legitimate Stanley Cup contending team comes along, I don't know, once or twice every 25 to 30 years with this franchise. So when you get a chance to go all in, to swing for the fences, you do it. You don't know when you're going to get that chance again. So I have zero issues with them going after Sherratt and Giroux last year and going for the cup. And they're going to keep fighting. They're going to keep taking their swings. And that's the beauty of having a team that's built like the Panthers, when they've got so much talent locked up for the next several years. And they're all, as we've talked about before, in that juicy, meaty point of their 20s where they're going to be playing the best athletes possible. So despite losing the trade deadline acquisitions, they're still one of the best teams in the league, top to bottom. And if they get Bob playing a decent level, they get Spencer Knight taking that next step. He'll be 22 in the upcoming season, which is still ridiculously young for an NHL goaltender, for a goaltender to be in the NHL. So there's still room for improvement with this team. I think we haven't seen the best out of Carter Verhaeghe yet. I think we haven't seen the best out of Anthony Duclair yet. We still could see another level to Huberdeau and Barkov because they've slowly ascended the last few years as well. So I don't think that they peaked last year. I think that they're building something. What that is, we'll see. But they've got the ingredients. Zito has given them the ingredients to make a real delicious dinner. And I'm not just saying that because I haven't had breakfast yet. They have everything in place right now, I think, as long as nobody falls off from last year. And really, the only guy who I'd be concerned about, just because there's not a lot of consistency there, is Bob. But he's also left us with the best taste in our mouth based on how he finished the year. So, but that's it for me, man. Like I'm anxious to get to the season just because they've been together now for a lot of these guys have been together now for the last 3 years. And after losing the way they lost last year, they're hungry.
Well, let's hope that they can figure things out there. All right, what are you working on at Chirping the Cats podcast and at Local 10 so folks can check you out?
Right now, it is like what I like to call the calm before the storm. This is the free agency draft is all behind us. There's a little bit of a lull as we're getting into training camp, which is going to be, maybe a little bit over a month away, right? The beginning of September. I really think everybody's at this point, they're in their off-season modes. A lot of guys are doing some training. Yeah, I mean, you asked me what I'm working on. So basically, I'm just kind of getting ready for the season. I don't have anything in particular right now. I'm like you are. I'm kind of got my ear to the ground. The Matthew Tkachuk kind of got my eyebrows raised a little bit. And just kind of the side note a little bit. How nice is it when you start hearing about these superstar athletes in the NHL? And they all want to come to the Panthers now.
That's Keith Kachuk's kid, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. So, I mean, we had last year with Giroux when he said he wanted to come to the Panthers. We've seen, now with Matthew Tkachuk, other names have popped up with Panthers on their radar. And it's just nice. It's just nice to be that team now that people, they want to win. Oh, hey, Florida, no state income tax, amazing weather. Oh, and they've got an amazing team. They've got a front office that people respect. They've got a coach now. They had a coach with a lot of pedigree that, we know how that ended. So I think, now they've got another veteran head coach, a guy who's a good leader of men, not an ego guy. They're trying to put everything together, Orlando. And as somebody who's been following this team for a long time, I really hope that they can make it work. I mean, last year was fun, but it's not the ultimate. And that's why we're all doing this.
Follow him on Twitter at David Dwork. Catch his work there at the Chirping the Cats podcast. So subscribe to that and catch his work there at Local 10. David, as always, thank you, my friend. I appreciate you immensely. We will catch up next week.
Always, brother. Be well. Have a happy weekend.
Thank you, sir. There you go. The great David Dwork. Don't forget, from Miami to Port St. Lucie. Yeah, baby. ALennyLocksmith.com. On Twitter at ALennyLocksmith. Tampa and Orlando, we've got you covered. We've got locations there. We've got a location also in Phoenix, Arizona. Lenny Locksmith. They also program your car keys too. So not only can they replace your keys, they can also program them. That is the Lockdown segment.